Up and running and Villa Up and running and Villa is loud.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Villa Park podcast in a unbelievable time for the club. It's me, Kev, here tonight hosting because Rich is feeling a bit under the weather, but he was battling on with the instant match reaction last night. If you can see the glee on his face, it almost cured his cold in one go. I'm delighted to be joined by Martin. Hi Mark, how you doing, mate?
All good, Kev, all good. Just buzzing just over this week. Never mind yesterday's game, just buzzing over this week.
Yeah, good, mate. Well, we'll get into all of that, and great to have Sam here as well, who's back from the US of A, where he met a certain Mr. Dean Smith and a few Villa faces over there. So, Sam, you can tell us all about that later on in the show. But how you doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good. You have to excuse the voice. I've got a bit of a cold as well, but unlike Rich, I show some real dedication to this pod, So I'm here.
Yeah, well, I saw a
Fighting words.
I saw a Jack Grimes post where I think you were like in the background accosting Dean Smith. So I think there was like clearly some songs going on over there. So yeah. Well, first things first. How was Dino? What was he like?
Oh, he's a lovely man. I'll tell you what, he's so nice. He's just it's quite funny. I've seen sort of a lot of people saying, oh, he's just trying to have a beer and this and that, but he was just so up for it. He was so involved. He was just sat with everyone. He was just sat. He had a table right in the middle where we were watching the game, and it probably wasn't I wasn't very cool when I first saw him because I walked down the steps into this the bar is called Legend in New York, and I want to give a big shout out to the New York Villains as well. So if anyone's ever lucky enough to be in New York whilst there's a Villa game on, I was fortunate there was 3 on whilst I was out there, and I went there every time. And it's just such an amazing football focused place. And I walked down the stairs, and he's just there with his I think it's his wife and his sister and his brother-in-law, or his brother and his sister-in-law, whatever. He was there with his family, and I see him, and my eyes just sort of lock with him for a second. I was just like, is that Dean Smith? And unbeknownst to me, my legs just kind of go, and my knees just kind of buckle a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, it's Dean Smith. And
I'm in love. I'm in love.
I was. He was just so nice. Like from that first second, I saw him. He came up. He stood up, gave me a handshake, and came over and said hello. And he was lovely. He was really getting involved with it. And obviously, I managed to. I asked him after he took a picture with me and signed my shirt, and I said to him, I do this podcast with the boys, and it'd be great if we could just get sort of like 30 seconds, just instant match reaction from you. And I'm sure everyone's seen it by now. If you haven't, obviously it's on Twitter, it's on YouTube, so go have a look at that. And I just asked him, I said, what are Villa doing this season? What are we going for? He was very sort of reserved on camera. He said, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it," but off camera, I think Dino's he's a man of experience, more far, millions of times more experience than any of us will ever be in the space of football. So, I think his sort of off camera message to me was, like, don't bother looking at the league, to be fair, but just see how far we can go. It would be I think still the same crazy chances to win the league as it would have been for Leicester, and this time the year they won it. No one's expecting it. I think there's a 1 in a million chance because other teams are slipping up. But I think Dean's point was there's just so much quality in the league. It's not just Man City you've got to worry about. It's Liverpool, it's Arsenal, it's Spurs when they get their players back, and we're a top team amongst a lot of top teams. But all in all, I think he's brilliant. And I never even imagined seeing him that day. I had no idea what was going on. It was my last day. I was flying back to England 3 hours later after meeting him, but he was just it's an amazing experience, and he's just a lovely guy, and I'm really glad that I got the chance to meet him.
Sam, that's absolutely class, mate. And yeah, you did obviously you did got a little mini pod out about it, which is our most viewed one ever. I think it's got nearly 8K views now on YouTube. We even got a mention, the Villa pod in the Birmingham Evening Mail, so which was pretty amazing. So great work.
I'm expecting a raise, boys. I'm expecting a raise.
Yeah. That's our well, as you know, Sam, this is all done out of passion, mate. So but our profiles, it's getting there, but we're not forgot our regular fans. So just before we get into the meat and bones of the game, we really appreciate all the support, old fans, new subscribers. It's really been flying. We've flown right deep into the 2,800s now, which we were desperate to get to that point. We'd love to get to 3K before Christmas. So if you like what we do, you know the amount of pods that are going on. Massive shout out. He's not here tonight to Richie because he's an absolute juggernaut with this. The rest of us guys obviously support where we can. But, whether it's Talking Tactics, which is fantastic analysis. If you've never caught those shows, Gareth and Rich do them. I do them when Rich is on holiday, which is always really good fun. But go through proper match of the day style analysis and really get to understand why and how Villa have won. And each week with Emery, it's generally a different vibe anyway, because he's such a masterclass of a manager. Obviously, we do the reactions with all the European games. So, yeah, there's loads going on. So please, please, please subscribe. Give this video a like. We've got 54 watching already now on a Sunday night when it's the I'm a Celeb final as well. So appreciate that. But, yeah, give us a like. And if you want to subscribe as well to the channel, $1.99 a month to be a member. It should be somewhere when you come to the channel or somewhere on the pod. So, yeah, but any questions, just send us a DM. So, loads of comments in. Let's see what the vibe of the Villa fans is after 15 home wins in a row in the Premier League. We've got, first up, Mr. John Morton. Everything's coming together for Villa. We've suffered long enough. Give Unai a much-needed extension. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic shout. Jim Quartermain, so proud of the players. Their efforts are clear to see. Such great harmony at the club right now. I wonder if we buy in January or keep as it is. Loving Tielemans in the advanced central role. Yeah, I think Tielemans has been a real bright spark lately. He's been fantastic. Michael, good evening, mate. Good evening. Deontay, happy Sunday, mate. Good to have you here. There's a few people saying hello to each other, which is good to see. Aaron, Speed, for the Villa this week, beating Man City and Arsenal really cheered me right up this week. I think it's cheered everybody up, mate, who's a Villa fan. Very, very unexpected. Adamski's here, all the way from Australia. Struth, mate, what a week. It's been fantastic. Sorry, it's such a bad Dale,
I liked it.
Hi all. Deacon here as well. Hello, gang. Richie Edwards is here. I've just called you Richie, if that's all right. But yo, people, hello, mate. Yeah, the vibe is really, really positive out there. Absolutely positive. Alex is coming back. Actually asking about Mep joining. Hey, gang, credit card in hand. Where do I go to support you? And invite Gareth to one of the fans forums so we can have a great Q&A. Yeah, we'll try and do that one day, definitely. It should be somewhere. So if you want to drop us a membership follow, that'd be fantastic. We really appreciate all the support. Ask Sam how was Dean Smith. Lewis, well, we've done that one, mate. So I got that one out of the way for you early doors. Andrew Miller, evening. It's good to dream. Fantastic. Adamski says he infiltrated a Spurs podcast earlier there.
I saw that actually on Twitter. It was quite funny.
They are unhinged, yeah.
Yeah.
So listen, let's kind of get into it. You just touched on this, Sam. Obviously, 1,000,000 to 1 shot. Well, before we beat Man City and Arsenal, maybe even going back to before the Bournemouth and Spurs game, do you remember that Sky Sports graphic where we had a 0.1 chance? So that's that like one in a 1,000, is it, or something? So, if I'd have said to you fellas, Mark, I'll go to you. If I'd have said to you, yes, Alex, thanks, mate. Really appreciate the support. Thanks a lot, buddy. If I'd have said to you, Martin, we've got a run of 4 games against Spurs, Bournemouth, Manchester City and Arsenal. 1, how many points are we going to get? And 2, who's the team that's going to stop us getting maximum points in the game? What would your answer have been?
I'd have actually said Bournemouth. I really would have, because
really?
if we look at our record against Bournemouth in the Premier League away from home, it's not particularly great at the minute. So I think sometimes that can play in a psychological sense to the player's head. Our record's not great here, we just have to dig deep. This is what's going to be, and I think that played into the heads, and we did dig deep, and we got a draw out of it, which was what we deserved, in my opinion, because we were all over Bournemouth, and they just had 2 phases of counter-attacking plays and finished them really well. So therefore, I would have said Bournemouth, and I was confident going into Spurs game because of their situation with suspensions and injuries. And then I had a feeling, I just had a little feeling that we were going to beat the record of the most consecutive home wins in Aston Villa's history by doing it against them two clubs. I just felt it was written in the stars for that to happen.
Well, I think with Unai at the helm, Sam, what were you expecting from those 4 games? And did you think Bournemouth would be the ones to, when you reflect back on it, they're the ones that have stopped us getting a 12-point haul?
No, not really. If I'm being honest, I thought we'd come unstuck against Man City or Arsenal.
Yeah.
I think I've been to loads of Arsenal games recently over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. My wife's an Arsenal fan, and I managed to see them at Emirates and at Villa
Well,
Park
that was a long
last
flight
year.
home, I'd imagine.
No, it wasn't for me, mate. I was fine. But, yeah, no, I think, look, Man City are always incredibly difficult to play against. I think I wasn't. It's just very typical Villa. Like, now that it's all said and done, and our hindsight's 2020, don't manage to beat Bournemouth, but manage to beat City and Arsenal. It's just the Villa way, isn't it? We've spoken about this before, sort of like where we drop points. We drop points against Forest, drop points against Bournemouth. Games like that, and then managed to. What was it? We beat Chelsea, beat Spurs, beat Man City, beat Arsenal this season. I know that obviously playing away and playing at home is a massive factor in that. I reckon, but I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Like, it's kind of hard doing a podcast because I've sort of run out of words for what's going on at Villa at the moment. There's no superlatives, there's no explanation for it. It's one of those things where you just kind of sit back and marvel. It's like the Northern Lights. Like, you can't, what, you just look at it and enjoy it. And I feel like that's how I'm. That's what I'm feeling with Villa at the moment. But yeah, just 3 absolutely fantastic results in the space of 6 days.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's funny as well. You mentioned obviously when you did the summary of like, are we going to win the league? These teams are probably going to come back, be it a Chelsea, a Spurs. Well, when you look back at the last month or so, Chelsea had a bit of a renaissance and they've dropped off a cliff. Spurs lost 5 on the bounce and have obviously beaten Newcastle today. And Newcastle, they smashed us on the opening day of the season. If anything, if you were an alien and you came to these shores, came to this earth in the last few weeks, you'd think that the best teams in the league were Fulham, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa. I think we've got more worry about. Fulham have scored 10 goals in 2 games.
That's mental. That is incredible.
Yeah, Bournemouth are flying. I think the point you said, Sam, about there's some good teams in this league, that almost makes what Villa have done even more impressive now, because you think about the quality that's been happening, coming out from some of the clubs. Look at the performances Everton are having, and we stuffed them early in the season. Maybe we caught them a bit cold, but I'm looking at that 4-0 against Everton now, thinking with their run of form, it's a competitive league. So to do what Villa have done, and let's obviously just let's focus on the Arsenal game for a second. So we come onto this game on the back of probably like the greatest performance. Me and Rich talked about this, a hell of a lot after the Man City game. Greatest performance that I've probably ever seen in my own eyes. Greatest performance, arguably, in my lifetime, in terms of just the domination of the ball and what we did and the stats to them. To then have to go with a day's less rest than Arsenal had. You thought we might be playing on a Sunday, to go into a Saturday evening game when all of that emotion, all of that energy to get the record, and then to have to play at the start of the day the league leaders. Sam, that was a big ask of the players, wasn't it?
I think the good thing about Villa, or one of the many good things about Villa this season, is we're winning in different types of ways. Obviously, my wife's an Arsenal fan. Subsequently, my brother-in-law's an Arsenal fan as well. And I spoke to him after the game. I say spoke to him, I was giving him a bit of shit. And he was saying, we dominated the ball, X, Y, and Z. And I said, mate, we've had 4 games in 10 days, and we were tired. We had 24 hours less rest. Like, let's not be dramatic about it, but we were a little less well rested than they were, and we managed to win a different way. We had a bit more energy against Man City, and we won in a really dominating way. And against Arsenal, we sat back, absorbed pressure, and I think that Villa historically have not really been able to do very well. If Villa have had this style of play where you kind of go 1-0 up and sit back, and it always comes back to bite us in the arse. Which is why I've always been a big fan of attack. The best form of defense is attack. But we just did it so competently, and it's what's amazing about this Villa team is we've got so many different ways that we can win games, different ways that we can score goals, and there's just so much variation. We are not one trick pony. We're not a one hit wonder. We're a team of substance, and a team of class, and a team with an identity. And that's where I think teams like, maybe look at Man United, a team assembled for over £1 billion. They've got good players, but they don't have an identity, and that's where Villa are coming up trumps at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin, were you surprised team selection with exactly the same team that started that game, obviously on Wednesday night, that massive victory against Man City? Were you surprised that didn't make any changes for the game?
Yeah, but just before I get on to that, we just want to give Michael a big thanks for donating £20 to the channel. When he was 14, he was watching the Central News. Villa had signed Peter Witt and Saunders, and this is the last piece of the jigsaw. This week was killed by top two. Do I believe in Villa? Yes, I do, because we're in the title race, baby. So
Love
Michael,
that,
thanks
Michael.
very much. Thanks very
Good
much.
man, Michael. Well done.
I really do appreciate that support.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, mate.
But now,
So
getting
yeah,
back onto
team selection, yeah.
Yeah, the team selection. I wasn't surprised that there wasn't any changes. I felt with a performance like that we put in against Manchester City, you physically couldn't change it, because everyone put in a shift. Everyone was just on top of their game from minute one right all the way up to the 95th. And I wouldn't have changed it. Personally, I wouldn't have changed it. And then after, the performance against Arsenal, and I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans, being bitter, being salty. But one thing is what I will say, Arsenal lost this game before the ball was kicked by their own arrogance. And I can understand that there's a lot of focus on them and all that, because there's the league title and everything else. But we have a manager now that studies each individual opponent. It doesn't matter what you do, he's going to contradict that. And the reason they have lost this well before this game was kicked, because Arteta was being a silly little fecker by over celebrating against Luton. So they had no instructions coming from their sideline, because their assistant manager looked clueless on that side of the pitch, where Emery just non-stop instruction after instruction after instruction. And yes, in the second half we were leggy. We weren't exactly on the ball as what we would have liked. However, we adapted to the situation really well, and that's why our manager is so good, because he can get our players to adapt to different situations. That when we don't have the ball, we dig deep for each other. Hence why every player that was starting 11 got a tackle in, and that's just goes to show that not only are we a good possession-based football team, we can press you off the ball. We can make the space very tight. The medium blocks that Pep Guardiola goes, the high line that's worked really well, keeping teams offside 74 times when that stat came up, and the next one was like 48, which was 26 more than the previous team. That's not a fluke. This is not a fluky win. This is a tactical game of a chess master by Unai Emery. And that's why Aston Villa are now to be taken seriously. Do I believe we can go and win the title? I still think it's very early. In the months of March and April, and we're still in it, then I'll say we will believe. But right now, what a time it is to be an Aston Villa fan and just to enjoy the football. And I want to enjoy the ride. And it's just an unbelievable experience that we're all witnessing. And got nothing more now to say.
That's you done, Mark. I think. Night.
See you later, mate.
Yeah, I love the passion. I love the passion. And look, we spoke about this on a pod, I think, a few weeks ago. Steve 24/7 just referred to my comment on my war cry of "What about us, you knobheads?" Which for those that didn't catch that, but yeah, I lost with the proverbial shit the other night a little bit, because we were still getting no plaudits, whatever. But yeah, if it did work, or they heard me, then I'll take the credit where I can. But we're clearly getting noticed now. There's a lot more talk about the Villa, and what I like about it at the moment is, I think we've kind of talked about this before, but we've had some fantastic performances. Clearly, the Man City one was the icing on the cake of performances. But you look at Brighton, the team, obviously that they've been in the last couple of years, and that was an absolute. They've been beaten like that. West Ham, I know West Ham have had a bad defeat today, but still to beat West Ham, I don't think they were as bad as they have been in the last few months when we beat them by 4. Newcastle last season was a massive, massive performance, obviously, in terms of what they did to us earlier in last season when Aaron Danks took over a couple of games. So we're winning a lot of games really well, but we're also digging in when we need to dig in. This season we've seen us coming back from being behind. But when we go ahead, as we've seen, we do not lose, Sam. And, we got the early goal. We had a fast start, which is like Villa a lot. Fantastic fast start. And then from that point there, even against top of the league, Sam, you've got to feel confident with our record going in the lead.
Yeah, it was a weird one because it was so windy, Kev. The ball was kind of going everywhere, so you never knew where it was going to go.
I knew that was coming.
Are you Robbie from AFTV? Are you Mikel?
Yeah, I mean, just the absolute.
The conditions, blood. The conditions.
I'm not going to lie. Mikel Arteta is a proper wanker, isn't he? He's like he's a real like idiot. Every time he wins, he just he talks about the way that he frames his understanding of the game, or how happy he is with the ref or the leagues or this and that. Just depends on the result that's come. He's got no consistency, and he's just I just think he's a proper twat, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think Villa going ahead at home. Again, this is all new. This is all new for me, Kev. I've been a Villa fan my whole life. I'm over 30 now, which is quite sad. But I've seen Villa a lot, and historically, when we go up, the lead's not safe. Like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have backed a Villa win from 2-3-0 up after 70 minutes. Like it was always coming. But we're just defensively, we're just so stellar at the moment, and I think, Conser. I'll be honest. I've not been the biggest fan of Carlos. I don't dislike him. I don't not want him in the team or anything like that. But he's just always he does things that make me nervous. He's very aggressive. I think he could have. I saw an elbow yesterday or something that he did. He seems like a bit of a loose cannon, kind of Romero-esque, from Spurs. But that back line, Conser, Carlos, Pau Torres, who we'll come on to later. I think he's been our signing of the summer, if I'm being honest. I'm sure we'll get onto that. And Luca Dean, really they just look so solid. I felt a little less comfortable when Matty Cash came on. Obviously that scramble with Havertz and the handball, but in general we just look really solid. And I think the key to being that solid is actually Kamara. It's not a secret. There's no Villa fan who doesn't know his importance, but all over the pitch we've got endeavour, we've got determination, and there's just space all over our team. There's so many people who can come into different positions. Even Dendonka looked quite good. In New York, it's quite funny. They call him Big Daddy Donk, which I really like. So I'm gonna keep that.
Oh my god!
No, but say it in an American accent, it's even better. Big Daddy Donk.
Big Daddy Donk, man. Big Daddy Donk.
No, but it was even he came on and he was making sort of a valuable contribution. So yes, I believed it. I didn't think that we were going to lose once we got ahead, but there was a couple of nervy moments.
Yeah, look, can I just say, 91 watching the pod, if you haven't hit the like button so far, please do. But we're loving all the support. Thanks so much. There's comments. I can't keep up with the comments, and also listening to the unbelievable commentary and feedback from Sam and Martin at the same time. But we'll try and pop as many as we can, but keep them coming in. The battling side of the performance actually was something I was really pleased to see, because I think, you could see probably the same team starting the game. Clearly, they were a little bit leggy. Arsenal are a good team. I was observing Arsenal, particularly first half, before they started to fall over all the time. I was actually really impressed with. I think Jesus is a really good player. He's absolute quality. Just the way, even he's sort of way he harries and hassles people. He's strong. He gets his foot in. Rice is a class act. The defenders are good. Zinchenko is a really good player. Plays that role really well. So across that team, they're absolutely fantastic. But for us to go ahead against them, yeah, sure, they had some chances. I don't really feel like some of the Arsenal fan and Arteta feedback was as if they absolutely bossed the game. They had a bit more than the ball than us, but I think Odegaard had a few chances, didn't he? But really, I don't think they had absolutely loads.
I think they had loads of quite a lot of the ball, if I'm being honest. Like we kind of sat back and absorbed that pressure. And even Emi Martinez said it after the game in the interview. He said, we had a win like we had against Man City, and then in his own words, he said, we sat back for 85 minutes and absorbed pressure from Arsenal. So that's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but Arsenal did have a lot of the ball, and they are a good team. Odegaard missed a couple of chances that you would not expect him to miss normally, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's up to them to put the ball in the net at the end of the day. You can't get angry at Villa and say that they were robbed and this and that when they can't hit the net. Like and Gabriel Jesus is actually quite an interesting player that you mentioned him, Kev, because he's quite similar to Kai Havertz. They're two of the only players that I can really name in the Premier League where I don't know where they play. I don't know what their position is, and I don't think Arsenal do either. And I think you could really notice a real absence of a striker in that team.
Yeah, you could.
And I don't. Yeah, Gabriel Jesus is a fantastic footballer. He's got all the attributes, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure what he does there.
In my personal opinion, I think Eddie Nketiah is much better than him, because Eddie Nketiah is a natural goal scorer. Like, he gets himself in the box, and it's not like, don't get me wrong, I know Jesus is pivotal to how they play in terms of, like, getting the ball in, bringing people into play. But when you look at Nketiah, he's one of the top goal scorers in the team.
As an out-and-out striker, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, but as an actual player,
I know, as a whole,
not comparable.
like,
Yeah,
in terms complete striker, yes, I would
Yeah.
take Jesus. But at the same time, a striker's first job is to score goals, and he's just not doing that. Where Nketiah has been doing that, it seems like, in my opinion, I think it looks like he's being taken for granted. You're here, and blah blah blah. You performed really well when you're going to be out of contract. Because make no mistake about it, he was gone up until he had a great form, and he's kept that form going because he wants to stay at the club. He's an Arsenal boy, and I don't blame him for that. But at the same time, if you want to go and play somewhere and get yourself in the brackets of 10 to 15, maybe potentially 20 goals, he's got to do that somewhere else, because he's not going to do it in Arsenal, because they're not going to play him as much. Now, obviously, Jesus' legs like glass, so he's going to get his opportunities. But at the same time, if I was in his position, I'd be saying, I want to go somewhere else, because I know I can score goals. So therefore, I got to do it somewhere else.
So hold on. So a striker's first job is to score goals. That sounds oddly familiar, Kev. I feel like I've said that before at some point.
You have said that a few times, Sam.
Yeah, you have said that before.
And let's be clear, Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, let's be clear, Sam. Ollie Watkins hasn't scored in the last 2 games. Let's talk about
absolute shit show. Absolute shit show, mate. Get him out.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, this is a joke, by the way, everybody. This is a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah, I actually think Watkins has played really well the last 2 games, despite not even really having many chances.
Yeah,
I think he's been a good presence. I think he's I think Man City was a little bit better, but his general hold up play and using his physical assets as well.
I've got to say, just on Watkins, because I've already seen like 3 Sam Watkins comments already. I've really been enjoying watching him play recently. That goal against Bournemouth, the ball behind him, that header, absolutely phenomenal. I said it straight away in the chat. And that's that's the kind of stuff you want from Ollie Watkins. But this is a thing. I did not expect this from Watkins. I just hope he can keep it going. Chip in with those regular goals, get us a point. That point against Bournemouth was so important. Like, when you look at it now, he just needs to keep doing that until the end of the season. That being said, I'm sure we'll come on to January at some point, but I still feel like if he goes down, we've got a problem. So I think we need another striker. I really do.
Well, we'll come on to potential transfer chat towards the end of the show. Let's just try and I mean, there's not much more to the game other than the goal. We haven't discussed it yet. I don't think they even showed the whole goal on Match of the Day in terms of the actual move, which is really surprising, because it was an absolutely fantastic example of Emery ball. I think every single outfield player but one touched the ball. We looked like we were in a bit of danger. All of a sudden, unbelievable intricate passing. John McGinn steps up in his captain's role. Man of the match on Wednesday night against Man City. Gets the winner today, Martin. What did you think of the goal?
An absolute fine example, like you just there said, of Emery ball. We absorbed the pressure in the back third, and we didn't hesitate. We didn't go, I'm just going to hoof it because he's putting pressure on me. No, each pass creates a new movement, and that's exactly what's been installed here for Unai Emery. As soon as this player gets it, you're to move here, you're to move there. And the movement, not just with the ball, but off the ball, is incredible, because we can create space for ourselves. And that's why I say, you know, each pass create a new movement. It doesn't just create a new movement for the player. It creates also different spaces for them players to exploit. Hence why you always see Leon Bailey shifting over to the right side, because when John McGinn, he comes into that central, Bailey will shift out because he knows the space is there because the player would have followed him. And hence why when he did that 1-2 with Tielemans, oh, incredible. And Tielemans just one touch, boom, out the wing, and Bailey, great ball in, and John McGinn. And to my surprise, I thought William Saliba would have been a lot closer to John McGinn in that instance, because in fairness, he is a quality centre back, and I don't take it away from him. But he was very poorly away from John McGinn, which was his advantage. One touch, turned, and bang. And funny enough, he said it himself. It wasn't the cleanest of strikes. Personally, John, I don't care if it wasn't the cleanest of strikes. You got the goal, and we got 3 points.
One of my favourite phrases, even when I play five-a-side, which sometimes I can be a bit wayward with my shooting. But if you buy a ticket, win the raffle, and the frustration you get sometimes when you're on the edge of the box, or you've got half a chance to get a shot away. You never know. I mean, look at the last 2 goals we've scored in 2 1-0 wins. 6-point haul against Manchester City treble winners and Arsenal top of the league is a deflected Bailey strike. I still think it was going in when you see the behind view. But anyway, deflect. And a John McGinn strike that wasn't cleanly hit. What I loved about it as well was, again, this meticulous nature of what Villa do now as a club in terms of their analysis is that McGinn, if you've seen the post-match comments from John McGinn, if you haven't, check it out. But he said there was a situation in one of the Conference League games where he was in the same position and he laid it back for someone else to shoot. And that they coached him to say, listen, like, get it, pivot, spin, and almost like Watkins did in that goal against Newcastle last season. But it almost felt like he took it, like they almost gave him a bit too much time to turn around. But once you've kind of done that, it's a side foot into the net. And McGinn, this is exactly what McGinn's like. When he's marauding forward and you think he's gonna lose possession of the ball, and he manages to still make the right decision and either spin or turn. In that moment there, you're not going to get many chances in the Arsenal box. He was surrounded by defenders, but he just stepped back a bit, got the ball, did a pivot, side-footed it in, 1-0. Absolutely fantastic. And from that point then, we had something to hang on to. Now, I think, just to move on to some of the players, Sam, one of the main reasons we hung on to it was actually because of how solid and stable we were. There's been a few comments about Carlos, actually, in terms of his people's elbow he's been using a couple of times. But, and which is a little bit of a worry, but considering, and let me just talk about Carlos for a second. That injury could end someone's career. Achilles tendon rupture is horrendous. Yeah. 2 games in into his Villa career, people were saying, before obviously Mings got injured as well, like, is he going to play for us? Is we going to ship him out? He's been a bit of a bit part player. And then the last 2 games, he's played the whole game in a 6-point haul in defence against arguably 2 of the best attacking forces in the league, possibly Europe. So let's have a little word on Diego Carlos. Sam, what have your thoughts on him been?
Sorry, Sam, just before I touch you on Diego Carlos, Adamski here has given 20 Australian dollars. I don't know what that converts to now in the pounds and all that. But he says, still feels like Emery is in stage 1 coaching us to be defensive, and stage 2 is unfolding, will be more attacking as time goes by, and he builds the squad he truly wants. So Adamski, thank you very much. And I used to live in Australia, so fair dinkum, as a lot of them would say out there. So
I bet you they don't say it like that. I bet you they
no, don't say it like that. They don't say it like that. No, they don't say it like that. But
fair dinkum, mate. Yeah, that'll do. There you go. I've got full-on neighbours there.
You still sound like you were from London.
No, I didn't. Adamski, cheers, pal. That's absolutely awesome.
Absolute legend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, legend.
Diego. All right. I mean, I said it before. Look, there are times where he makes me a bit nervous. But I think just because of his aggressive nature, but we were all super excited when we signed him, and I think this is part of the strategy. We always talk about the squad and building the squad, and everyone needs to be ready at any point. And fair play to him, he's brought him in against, I would argue, the best striker in the world against Haaland on Wednesday, and he had a job, and his job was to bully him and to not let him out of his sight and to pocket him, and he did. And then against Arsenal,
he didn't play against Luton.
Say again.
He's still not out of his pocket. He didn't play against Luton.
Yeah, well, he did a great job against Haaland. He done a very different job against Arsenal, making sure that he's in touch with that high line that we play, making sure that he's level, and that takes time to sort of get into sync with the rest of the players. But this is, I mean, you've already mentioned it when you talk about John McGinn and his decision on that shot. It's just coaching. He's been brilliantly coached, and he's a brilliant player to be receptive, because some players are not receptive to being coached. They don't take stuff on board. They do things their own way, and not even sort of out of just arrogance or anything like that. Some people are just very hard to coach. Like they have a muscle memory of how they do things. But yeah, I think Diego's done himself proud. He's part of a squad. I quite like Ezri Konsa in the middle. I don't love him at right back, but I can understand why he's there, because Matty Cash, maybe he's not 100% fit. For me, I think Matty Cash leaves a little bit of holes. He would be a target for me if I was a team coming to Villa Park or playing against Villa. I'd identify him as one of the weakest links. Not saying that he is a weak link, but it's definitely up there. He's probably the easiest to get at, rather than down the middle or down the left.
I'd have to disagree with you there, Sam.
I mean, that's what we do here, man.
I mean, if you look against someone there like Matoma, who basically done his thesis on dribbling and how he just beats fullbacks with ease, didn't have a chance against Matty Cash. Matty Cash, I think, has been exceptional, in my opinion, how he's been able to defend against wingers who have quick pace. Heung-min Son didn't really do much against them either.
He did. He absolutely did.
He got 3 offside goals.
Yeah, no, I know, and that's part of the system. Look, I'm not saying Matty Cash doesn't ever have good games. Of course, he has absolutely stellar games. He's a top player. But I'm saying that of all of the players that we have in that system, in that defensive system, I mean, look, there's a reason. I'll ask you the question. I'll put it back on you then. Why is he playing Konsa at right back and not Matty Cash?
Look at the amount of games we've had to play. Like, I mean, and the amount of games
he's not dropped anyone else.
Therefore, you've got to rotate. Look, he took Diablo, and
he gave Matty Cash a couple of days. But he gave Matty Cash Wednesday off, and then obviously against Arsenal, you figure, okay, fine, he's gonna bring him back in. Again, I love having Cashy there. What was that?
What's your beef? What's your beef?
Sunday lunches. No, I don't. I like the double entendre with beef and lunches.
Can I just jump in on this point? So I get your point totally, Martin. Right, that Cashy hasn't let us down in so many situations. I think the example you give about a lot of wingers he's played against, he's done really well. But if we're talking levels now, and where we want to get to in the league, Cashy, I think, has come on leaps and bounds, and I still think there's more in there in terms of his development as a player. Not that long ago, 3-4 years, he's a championship winger. So his conversion to Premier League fullback at the top end of the league has been fantastic. But if you got to choose a possible angle of where there might be a weakness, then I get Sam's point entirely. You're maybe going to get a bit more change out of Cashy, possibly then through the middle, or maybe a Digne. I mean, you could argue the point either way, right? But I think at some point, let's be clear, we'll have some weaknesses in the team that other clubs would exploit. The question I was going to ask about Cash, and I think, Sam, you've kind of asked this in your question back to Martin on the whole point, is if Cash is fit and Emery's decided to play Carlos and shift Konsa out to the right-back role, does that potentially say a few things longer term about Cash's position in the team? Or is it purely because he felt that was the best plan for those 2 games?
But you've seen with Emery before, when he's talking about Matty Cash, he's already said he's better going forward than he is defensively. Like Emery said that, and I agree. I think Matty Cash is better going forward than he is defensively. I think he's. I very much agree with Gary in the comment there. I'm not bashing Matty Cash. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not happy with him in the team. All I was saying is that of our defensive setup, I think he's the weakest link, and he's definitely. And what my actual original point is, I think that you're getting less change out of Konsa by having him on the right than you are in the middle, because him and Pau Torres had such a solid understanding. That being said, we didn't have a clean sheet for 10 games before Man City, and now we've got 2. So
maybe Konsa's the problem at centre half.
Maybe I'm contradicting myself, but I'm accepting that. Look, there are stats to back up that Diego Carlos is better in that position, but I just feel like Konsa's such a Rolls Royce of a player. I love to see him in his natural position, maybe in a 3. Maybe Sam, they play 3 at the back.
There's a good comment from Rach there. Maybe the Spurs game got in his head a little bit, because obviously he was, he got a lot of abuse after that, didn't he? Do you think possibly there was?
He did play the next game after that, didn't he?
Did he? I think.
Yeah, he played Bournemouth.
He played against Bournemouth.
Did he not?
Did
No,
he?
he didn't.
It was still Conza right back because remember
Yeah, it was.
Semenyo was
Was
giving
it?
him a bit of trouble.
Yeah,
Didn't dribble past him out.
and that's the interesting point there, isn't it? That actually, when Carlos came in for the Man City game, me and Rich talked about his post Man City, match reaction, because Semenyo and Tavernier and Solanke had caused a few problems to that, Konza, Carlos, Pau, Digne back line. We all thought, crikey, a bit nervous before the Man City game.
Yeah.
And you're right, Sam. We get 2 clean sheets in a row with that back line. So, I mean,
Who was that? Who was that left
Discussion.
winger for Bournemouth? Was it the one who should have been on the pitch?
Semenyo.
He was electric. I'll tell you what, he was turning Consa inside out, and I was just
January incoming. Take him.
I was really
Solanke.
impressed with him. You know, I like Solanke as well. I've watched him previous seasons. I've never been inspired by him, but I tell you what, that Bournemouth team, it's looking all right, and everyone sort of gave them a lot of crap for getting rid of Gary O'Neill, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they look absolutely fine. Yeah, but
Yeah.
very, very good squad, a very good team, Bournemouth. But yeah, I mean, we have a look at the right back position. I'm sure it will come up. And at the end of the day, if Unai wants to stick with Matty Cash, then so be it.
Well, let's have a little word on another player now. The man who got the win, the captain, fantastic. Martin, how do you feel about Mr. Mcginn?
Well, there's a new nickname for him now, and they're calling him Brave Arse. What a nickname, by the way! Like that's incredible. There you go, doing him a gritty there. Yeah,
very good.
I don't know how he does it so seamlessly. Like
Martin or John McGinn.
John McGinn.
Yeah, Martin, that was incredible. By the way, that was really good.
Yeah, that was good. But can you do it whilst you're running at 30 miles an hour? Because that's what he does.
I probably could actually. I probably could.
I poke myself in the eye immediately, I think.
Yeah, but no, I think that was just a great goal and such a commanding midfield performance off the ball as well. It was the John McGinn that we all know and love. Like the world is covered by 70% of water. The rest is covered by John McGinn. On that game, he was just incredible. No one could deal with him, and that's why. And like I bring it back to the point of yes, Arsenal had most of the ball. However, they could not deal with our press. They were just constantly going back inside. And yes, there was times they did go forward because there was an area of weakness, and that happens. But I felt from John McGinn in that midfield was unbelievable. Like every time a player tried to come near him, they turn around, pass it back. They just could not live with him. And for me, he was the man of the match performance. 10 out of 10. Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. Carlos deserves his flowers because he got player of the match there for the game overall itself in the Premier League. But in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, John McGinn was the overall man of the match. And he deserved it. And he got the winning goal. Great midfield performance, captain performance, kicking the lads on when things might not go well. Let's lift it, fight for each other. And that's just how you do it.
Yeah, well, listen, another player to talk about making his return. Making an obviously appearance against his former team again. Didn't have the best time, did he, last year in the game where the last home game that Aston Villa lost. Would you believe it? Like 9 months ago, whatever. There's been babies conceived and then born in that time since Villa have lost a home game. So yeah, that's how long it's been. Was obviously Emi Martinez, and wasn't he great? Wasn't he fantastic? He was doing his usual, winding them up and annoying them. And did you notice all the moaning that we're doing? Obviously, he was taking his time and he was pushing it a bit, but all the moaning the Arsenal players were doing to the ref. Sam, what did you make of Emi's performance last night?
World's number one, and he's the best in the world at what he does. As a one-on-one shot stopper, there's no one better. There's just no one better. There's not a lot to say about Emi Martinez. He's perfect. He's Villa through and through. His performances, I think he kind of rises to the challenge, Emi. Like he loves it when we're in this kind of like vein of form, and when we're going for stuff like I saw his interview where they were asking about the title, and he said, "I'm a believer. Yeah. I'm a believer." And he just so invested in this project, and you can see it in the way he plays, the way he throws his body around. He's got obviously a black eye and he got a cut on there. I think it was actually from a Villa boot. But he doesn't care. He puts his body about, and he's, like I say, for me, he's definitely the best goalkeeper in this league, and I think he's the best in the world, and we're very lucky to have him.
Yeah, we are indeed. I think the whole team, to be fair, did great. I just want to talk also about the substitutes, because I do feel like you could tell we were struggling a little bit. The intensity of playing is quicker than Arsenal had a lot of games lately. Obviously, we've had Tottenham would have took a lot out of us that game. Yeah, Tottenham were relentless that first half. Bournemouth, the way we're going right to the end to get a point from the game. We've obviously got a European game which we need to get a result from to avoid having a playoff against the third place Europa League team if we don't win that game. Just need a point in Bosnia on Thursday night. Then obviously we've got a game we're expected to win under the lights to cement our title charge. So you could see the players were a bit leggy. And shout out to the ones that came on. Obviously, there was a Diaby for Bailey at halftime. I think Bailey got a bit of a knock. Shout out to Bailey again, because obviously massive contribution for the goal. So he's been really, really bringing in.
How good is Bailey, by the way, Kev? I want a little more, because he has been absolutely
we
superb.
need a little monologue apology.
Come on, Kev. Let's.
I will.
Don't breeze past his contribution in that goal. Obviously, the assist and in the game in the first 45 minutes. Come on, say it with your chest.
And Kev, we'll time it too. We're going to time it.
Yeah, go on.
I've got absolutely no shame in saying this. Look, one thing we do on this pod, and anyone that knows me on this pod or outside of this pod will know that I'm certainly not afraid to say what I think in a lot of situations, because I think life sometimes is about people not having opinions. However, I also think the most important thing is to have the humility to admit you were wrong. No, I don't think I was totally wrong, because I think it was.
I don't think you were wrong, by the way, Kev.
Yeah,
I think you were right last season, and I think this year is not the same player. We're not watching the same Bailey that we were last year, are we?
No, he's clearly got the confidence of having his fitness back, right, which is the most important thing. And I think his decision making has been a lot better. And I love him now. I think he's one of my favourite players to watch.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
He's been such a handful. So yeah, no shame here at all, Mark. I know we have a bit of banter on the podcast channel that we've all got people that we've kind of give it to, but I guess we kind of have to, don't we, at times? But
there's always one player you get on their back, and it's just.
Yeah,
there's always one.
Yeah, and now it's going to be Watkins again because he hasn't scored for 2 games. No jokes. I was
waiting for it.
Yeah, Leon, fantastic, love him, and maybe his stepdad was right all along. So yeah, Craig.
He's very straight. He's gone from being like a really super underwhelming to being scintillating. Like, it's not like his performances has just picked up and he's contributing a bit more now, and you could say, "Oh, fair play to him." He's a different player. He's absolutely unplayable. His footwork, his understanding, his sturdiness on the ball, like pushing players off. And you saw it in the goal, John McGinn's goal, the way that he was expecting that ball through electric pace. He seems quicker than he did last year. Just everything about his performance is just absolutely scintillating.
Do you know what I like about him as well, Sam? Sam, he's going inside and outside. He's going both sides. He is. And actually, his ball retention. Because there's times when have you noticed, like, he did it the other night? He deliberately goes into battle. It's like, I've got the ball in space. I'm now going to run towards 3 Arsenal players, and you ain't going to get it off me, and I'm going to release it to someone else. I'm like, whoa, where are you going, Leon?
His passing range, his footwork. You see that little medley that he did against Man City.
Yeah,
and he did another one the week before at Spurs. I remember I saw it because
he just got a bag dragged.
He's playing FIFA, mate. He's playing FIFA. He's on the trick stick, and he's.
I know one thing. Yeah, sorry, Sam. Go on.
Sorry, no. The only thing I was going to say, just to finish it off, is it's not for show. It's not like, you remember when Cristiano Ronaldo just used to do 17 step overs and just move a yard forward. It's not that. It's all got end product. It's working towards something, and fair play to him. I'm a massive fan of Leon Bailey.
Yeah, and one thing as well about Leon Bailey is he's got his confidence in his own body back. Because remember, when sometimes players can come back from injuries and they would tend not to run as quick, or they might not go into that tackle to try and get the ball and beat the man, and that was happening to Bailey a lot. We thought his pace was a myth, because remember, we were seeing this electric pace in the Bundesliga that he was doing with Leverkusen and beating players to the ball force. He didn't do a lot of that last season because he probably didn't have the confidence in his own body, where now this year he does, and he's doing it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them? Have either of you ever seen Space Jam? You know when those little alien things steal the basketball.
Yeah, when they take all the energy off,
they steal their talent.
Yeah.
I reckon Bailey's done that to Diaby.
Yeah.
I think he's just
they're swapping.
Well, there's been a few comments about Diaby. I'm going to say, based on what we know about Bailey, that maybe he's just having a bit of a spell off it, and he did get obviously that great goal, didn't he? The other day in the Conference League. So we'll give Diaby a bit of a chance. But yeah, I was just going to say, to the subs that came on. absolutely fantastic to see that we needed these players because we were looking a bit tired. We were looking like possibly Arsenal were going to get back into. I was pretty confident they were going to score second half, with how they were. And let's give a shout out to the players that came on. Obviously, Diaby came on at half time, and then I think it was Cash, and then obviously we had Dendoncker, we had Ramsey, Big Daddy Donk, Ramsey, and who else came on? There was someone else that came on as well, wasn't there?
Moreno came on.
Moreno came on for Dean.
Moreno, yeah.
And what a difference they all made. I mean, Dendoncker, who hasn't played for ages, and there was all sorts of conjecture about whether he could have come back earlier, was he'd had a baby, all sorts of things. But I was, other than one absolutely like stray pass he did when we could have been away, I thought Dendoncker was great. I thought he was physical. It was what we needed from him. Moreno looks like it. Yeah, Moreno looks like he's not been away, and Digne obviously and Louise are missing for the next league game. But I've got no real qualms. I just think you bring in a Ramsey, move Mcginn back, and bring in Alex Moreno at left back. Problem solved. We've got the squad. Isn't it? It
takes the village. That's what it is. Kev, I said this earlier. You need to have a squad, and we've built up the difference between this season and last season, especially. So we've got some serious metal on the bench, and you saw it against Spurs as well. They had, obviously, for injuries and whatever other reason, they looked a little bit light. But Villa, we're packing some heat on the bench. We've got more than one option, and that's like you've just said. Digne and Douglas Luiz last year, before maybe pre-January, both of them being out, you'd say, "Oh crap! Like, what are we going to do?" But now it's just like, okay, fine. We've got two more players. That gives them a rest, and we've got more players to bring in.
Yeah,
and one thing as well, like when I looked at our bench and then I looked at Arsenal's, I felt our bench was a lot stronger. Like I was looking at Arsenal's bench before the game, and I was thinking, there's no one really there that can impact the game. Maybe Trossard, but Trossard, in my opinion, is very hit and miss at times, because if he comes on, he's non-existent, and then sometimes he completely changes the game. But when I look at the bench and I'm going, well, there's no one really there for Arsenal that can actually affect the game if things don't go their way.
I'm glad Jorginho didn't come on, though, I'll be honest.
Yeah. But then when you look at our bench and you go, we've got options. There's he can do a job, he can do a job, he can do a job. And I'm not Dendoncker's biggest fan either, but even he done a job, and that is just is a testament to Emery, even, because even though you might not be the most useful, not useful is probably the strong word, but you might not be the most favorite player, but he's still done a job for us in them last few minutes, just for that little bit of bite in midfield to hold it off, and that's what it takes. And it was absolutely incredible.
And clearly he's not a dud. I mean, I don't know if some of you saw the tweet I put out in the week, basically giving it out to I think it's whoscored.com, where they obviously did the whole Zaniolo's got no strengths at all. And then they did that tweet of team of the week on the midweek games, and there wasn't a single Villa player in after the most dominant performance against Pep Guardiola ever. So, I think it's easy sometimes for Villa players to kind of, not get the recognition that they deserve out there sometimes. And Dendoncker's been one of those ones, I think. 32 caps. I made the point about Zaniolo. He's got all those caps for Italy, and apparently he's got no strengths. Well, Dendoncker hasn't always been fantastic for us. But the one thing I think we forget is this. We've thought our squad in the past was a bit weak. As in, not the bench, I mean, we're a bit worried about who's going to come on and make a difference. But one thing we've seemed to have forgotten, that Emery's been coaching the bench players as well as the first team players. So those bench players have got better. So actually, when those bench players come on now, really, I'm not really noticing a drop-off. You remember, you'd be worried thinking, with all of the fondness of memories we've got of a Trezeguet and an El Ghazi and a Traoré, and the moments of wonderfulness we've got from all of them, Trez basically kept us up. El Ghazi got us to the league, and Traoré got us to Europe last season with some key goals. So there's fondness in our hearts, but it was a significant drop down. So, and I think you make this point brilliantly, lads, like for that bench there where you compare it against other benches, I've even seen like a Man United bench or even a Man City bench. And I think, you know what, like we've got injuries as well. Like when Deer and Mings are back, you're going to have to let go of some players out that bench that are pretty good. You
insult us a little bit by saying Man United there, Kevin. Won't lie to you.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Though, you know what I mean. Well, they've got some expensive players on the bench, so it just gives you a bit of confidence, doesn't it? But look, guys, just to talk about it again, there's some fantastic comments through. I've been trying to fire up as many as I can on the screen. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel. We'd love it if you could give us a tick that, what's it called? Ring the bell. That's it. Ring the bell. Give us a like, a fantastic. We need as many as we can to help people find the channel. We've grown loads lately. We want to keep that going so we can keep bringing you the content. We've got tons watching for a Sunday night. And let's be clear, like we're talking about Villa, so nothing's wrong with that at the moment. I just want a brief chat about, not too long, because I don't really give two shits, to be honest, but Arsenal, were they unlucky with the penalty decisions, Sam, first of all, and the goal in terms of the Havertz goal, in inverted commas, at the end?
No.
Nice one. Next point.
No, they weren't. It was the rules, and the rules are what is one that I agree with as well. Is if the ball hits the arm at any point before a goal, it's a handball. And the penalty was the softest thing I've ever seen. He barely catches him with the bottom of his foot. Jesus is already going down. He's already going down before the contact's even made.
Yeah.
And I've noticed this about Arsenal, and Saka did it last year. He got quite a frosty reception at Villa Park, and I was watching with some of the guys in the bar from the New York Villains, and they didn't understand. They said, "Why is he getting such a frosty reception?" I said, "Because he's a diving little bastard. He did it last year in that exact same game. He was awful for it, and it's just kind of spread. And it seems like a very Arteta move to just be, like a diving little
Spoiled
whining
child.
piece of shit." Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it was a penalty. I tell you what, if it was against Arsenal, he wouldn't be saying it was a penalty. If it was if that was really the contest, I don't think Arteta would be saying, "Oh, well, you know what, that's definitely a penalty," or "Yeah, no, that's not a handball. It just kind of
Oh
only
yeah,
hit
he
him
wouldn't be
4
saying
times on
that.
the
He
arm."
he he he'd be just going, is what it is. That's it.
No, I think there's a way. There's a lot of people have been saying it. There's a way to lose and a way to win, and I think Arsenal, from everything from these correct decisions to the wind, to the grass, to the way that we played, to sometimes they just look back and say, "Look, we didn't do enough to win the game," but you don't
Yeah.
hear from them.
Just on it, I do think if Villa had lost the game, I don't know, 1-0, and that had been a penalty thing for us, because I've seen them given, I can understand why maybe they thought, once I watched it back, there was a bit of contact. The handball one's unlucky, but I get, if he's touched the ball with his hand and that's the rule, you've got to get it.
He
But
touched it 3 times, Kev. It wasn't once. He hit his arm through. And the only thing I would say about the other one that you said you've seen them given is you've seen them given when you look at it from a VAR slow-mo. It looks worse. When you watch it in real time, it's like he grazes the bottom of his boot. There's barely any contact. He's already halfway to the floor.
Yeah. I guess it's the threshold of what we have seen given. Think about some of the ones that have been given against, Man United. I think back to that, Konza and Fernandez one, a few years back. So, but I'm clearly delighted it fell on the right side of us. But the point I wanted to make about Arsenal was, Mark made it in the comments earlier. Here we are. I've never seen a group of players fall over so much. I mean, I do think that I've got a lot of respect for people in the league, right, in terms of the teams that have done some good stuff. But lately, Klopp, what a miserable bastard Klopp's turned into. I mean, I don't know if you saw the commentary the other day, like, someone made a bit of a joke about the early kickoffs. He's happy. He's happy when he wins, and he's really miserable when he loses. Guardiola gives it out a bit, but he's generally pretty magnanimous, and I think he almost a bit of gamesmanship from Pep. But I think he's generally got a bit more class. Haaland maybe not so much in terms of the result the other day. But I tell you what, if I had a situation of having, an opportunity to banish someone forever, and it was between Fernandez and Antony at Man United and Mikel Arteta, it'd be a real tricky choice. And I really don't like Fernandez and Antony. Arteta, is he the most unlikable manager in the Premier League, Martin?
Him and Klopp. For me, Klopp. Remember watching 101 Dalmatians on Disney? Well, Jurgen Klopp's 101 excuses. It just flows through his mouth. So it does. And then Arteta, sour, spoiled child when you lose, like as if you didn't get your favorite Christmas present or something, and he throws the strop, he's throwing the arms around, and then what he did was clear and obvious.
Yeah.
Like, really, mate, you threw a strop, you lost, end the story. Give out your players. Don't be giving out to the ref because 2 decisions that were the correct call. And what a spot by the referee as well to point the handball, which was something that so congested in that situation. A lot of refs probably wouldn't have seen that. So I give full credit to the referee for seeing something that might have been very difficult to see. And then Klopp, like when he wins, he's got the biggest smile. It's just, you know, the turkey teeth are really showing, and it's just, and you're going, really? And then when you know when they lose or they draw or something, just one little thing doesn't go his way, he's throwing the toys at the pram as well. And the two of them, for me, I just think
I,
it's
I
just
like
annoying.
Klopp actually, and I don't know why, because you've seen him just be so unbearable.
I
But
used to like him. I remember when he came in, he said, "Oh, I'm the normal one," and I loved that. But now
yeah,
it's just like he's throwing little bits here and there. Like every team deals with the half-12 kickoff. Every team deals with it, not just
yeah,
Liverpool.
but he's not the
Every
first.
team
Yeah,
that's in
yeah,
Europe is
you're
dealing
right.
with these congested fixtures. It's not just at Liverpool. Like there's other teams outside of Liverpool.
I think what you can really take from this is I've never seen Unai Emery not magnanimous in either victory or defeat. He carries himself with. I mean, to be fair, he doesn't really lose, so we haven't seen it yet. But I'm just really glad he's so in touch with Villa as a club. You know, I would hate to have, I'd actually hate to have someone like Arteta, or like, do you remember with Steve Bruce, and he said, we'd be there and thereabouts. He was always giving an
Oh God.
excuse, and always saying something. Not to say I hate Steve Bruce. I think he was fine for a time, but there's something about Emery and the way that he conducts himself, and all of his interviews, even his interviews, are strategic. He comes on, he says thank you to the fans, and then he goes into analysis, and he always says good afternoon. He's just classy, man.
It
It resonates around the club. It really does.
it just makes you feel better, doesn't it, as well? Like you've got all of the situations with Man City and all of their 114 financial infringements and dodgy payments. And clearly, like if Everton have been docked 10 points, then I expect to see Man City playing my local, non-league team in a couple of seasons, because there's something going on there, isn't there, in terms of that whole situation. Then you've got the scenario with Arsenal where I've actually think they've developed really well under Arteta in terms of the football they play. They've got some impressive players, but they just the kind of team that everybody's going to hate. Now, you don't mind if everyone hates you if you're winning all the time. I don't remember Steve Davis being particularly well liked back in the 80s, when he was winning all the snooker. And, and you get those kind of sportsmen or teams where they're just so dominant. But there was something about the way that Arsenal have been that last year or so, and the moaning, and then also the over celebration when they were beating teams they should be beating. That for me, whatever happens this season, I really hope Arsenal don't win the league, because I just think there's a way of going around it. And for Villa to have the owners that we've got, to have made the development that we've made in such a short space of time, they don't like it up them. They don't want, not just the media, clearly, but these are the clubs that they don't like the fact what Newcastle did last season. They don't like when Brighton are knocking on the door. And Aston Villa are a team they've always seen themselves better at. And I loved seeing the resharing of that video of the AFTV guy last season saying Aston Villa are going to get relegated and we're arrogant. Like penny for his thoughts, because you know what? They're a good team. They came to Villa Park. They threw themselves on the floor. They moaned about everything. Take the defeat like it was. It was a battling performance from Villa. They weren't that obvious decisions in terms of that he didn't get away. It wasn't an absolute stinker. Show some class. You're still in a good position and move on. And I think it just says everything about him.
Can I quote something from someone we should probably mention on the pod? I don't know if you've already done it, but someone I haven't had a chance to mention. But Benjamin Zephaniah. I just want to,
of course,
say obviously his videos and stuff when we were in the Championship and when we were on that playoff run and everything that he's done for Villa is such a sad loss. But just to quote a sentence from him that's very famous now, and he says, "We know the score. Form is temporary, boys and girls, but class is permanent. And you know what? We have class, and we will stick by that, and we'll let everyone else throw their toys out the pram, and we'll." This is why I don't care about the attention we're getting in the media or on TalkSport. I don't give a shit what Jamie O'Hara says. Villa fans are just at this point in time able to watch some of the best football we've ever seen at Villa Park. See us beat teams like Man City and Arsenal. See us progressing in Europe. I saw today when Newcastle were losing to Spurs that the commentator saying, "Oh, well, they've got Europe. It's difficult." Well, they're not traveling to Bosnia or wherever we're going on a Thursday night and then playing on a Sunday morning, are they? And we're not taking any excuses. We're not making any.
Sam, can I just come on that point as well? Like I saw this when someone talked about it on TalkSport the other day, like Villa's title challenge. Oh, but they've got Europe to worry about. What? And Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal don't have Europe to worry about.
The argument is that we've got a smaller or worse squad. And
Well,
that's the argument. It doesn't look like it when I checked the bench after Martin said it. He's absolutely right. Our bench was substantially stronger than theirs.
Yeah,
Um,
you think
but
about it, like,
but I would argue, have we not been playing in Europe for the last 3 months? Has it hampered us so
I know.
far?
No, I
I
think
don't think so.
we've dealt with it the best of almost any team. You consider our league position, our form. You know, we've not lost hardly any games. You know, our big, heavy, horrible loss was the first day of the season. Few mitigating factors, Mings. Since then, we've lost at Anfield, didn't play great, fine. Lost at Forest, got a couple of draws, pretty much won everything else.
We
Lost
won
in our
13. We won. What was it 13 games out of 16?
yeah.
yeah.
And you know what? They go about our away form and like, oh, Aston Villa's away form, it needs to be improved. It's actually when I look at it, in 8 games we played, we've 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 defeats. Yes, I would say that's inconsistent. I wouldn't say that's appalling like some people have put it. If you look at Newcastle's away form, they've only won once away from home. Once, which is, I don't know who it was against because I couldn't tell you. And the other were 3 draws and 4 defeats. So they're all about banging on, oh, Newcastle, but Aston Villa's away form is this and that, even though their home form is great. Lads, have a look at Newcastle's away form. They're down near
Yeah.
the bottom 6th in the away table on away form. We're
It's
Yeah.
still
just,
sitting like 8th.
it doesn't interest me, this commentary on Villa, because it's never fair. We're not obviously there's, I don't know what it is, Big Six bias or whatever it is, but it's, people don't want to believe, and it actually works really well for us because the second that people really start saying, actually, hold on, you start getting these shouts like, oh, Douglas Luiz in January, where's he going to go? Pau Torres is wanted by Man City because he is factually the best ball playing centre back probably in world football right now, if not in the Premier League. So it's all right. I'm happy to go under the radar. I'm happy for people to think little old Villa are
Same.
punching above their weight come the end of the season when we win the Conference League and win the Champions League. We'll take it from there. Don't worry about it, lads. Let them say what they're going to say.
Well, listen, lads. We're gonna keep all the content going for everybody. It's been absolutely amazing lately. We've got about 120 watching now, which is amazing for late on a Sunday night. We've only got about half have hit the like button, so please give the video a like. If you can't do it now on the way out, that'd be amazing. It just helps more people find us. Again, anyone wants to subscribe to the channel, we really appreciate all the support. We're really pushing to get 3K before Christmas. We're deep into the 2,800s now, so that'd be great. And of course, if you want to be a member of the channel, click all the information's in on the channel page. So that'd be great. We've already had a new member, Alex Moreno, tonight. He's not been kept too busy with first team football lately too much, so he joined the Villa Park Podding channel instead, which is brilliant. So last point I wanted to make, there's been a bit of discussion just then about obviously the bench being stronger than maybe we thought it was, and how does it compare to others? And we've got Europe. We're in this position now. Let's just, if you can think back to the time before Aston Villa were serious title challengers. But we've taken 10 points out of 12. We're right at the top of the league. Some of the fixtures that other teams have got coming, I think Arsenal have got Brighton and I think they've got Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Brentford, Sheffield United, an easy away trip to Man United. By the way, can I just make a quick point on that, right? And Big Ange, love Big Ange, by the way. I think he's been a breath of fresh air, but won 3 Manager of the Month awards. Eric Ten Hag won not saying he didn't deserve them, by the way. For any Spurs fans, give me grief. But
I'll say
yeah,
it. Go on,
okay. A bit. Eric Ten Hag won Manager of the Month. Harry Maguire won Player of the Month. They got tanked. Should have been 4-0. That was harsh to chalk the other one off. 3-0 at home by Bournemouth. The fans booed him off the pitch, and he's just won Manager of the Month. What is going on in the Premier League? It's crazy.
It was a nice little donation from Man United to the Premier League. And Eric Ten Hag got what he wanted to get, and we moved on. I mean, look, again, I think the LMA shows a lot of love to Unai Emery. I know he got a Performance of the Week trophy again for the game against Man City. It's one of those weird things, because we're kind of seeking as a fan base this sort of validation from people who just don't care about Villa, will not respect us until we're a Man City or a Man United and a whatever, so on and so forth. I reckon as long as we know as a fan base, we know that Unai Emery is Manager of the Month. We know statistically over the calendar month, the last 12 months, we would be second in this league, 3 points behind Man City. We know a lot of people saying, oh, well, Villa can't keep this form up for the duration of a season. We've already done it for the duration of a season. 38 games had gone, we were second. So the only thing I would say, and I know it's irritating to not get this validation from outside and from external, because sometimes it helps you gauge where you are. But excuse my French, boys and girls, if you're a child, maybe cover your ears, but fuck them, let them do what they want. It doesn't bother me at all. Don't care.
I think that says all you need to say about it, really. And for me, as long as Emery wins Manager of the Year when we do all the things we're going to do this season, then that's all that matters for me. But just to talk about it, we are where we are now. We didn't get the validation of the Manager of the Month award or Player of the Month award, but we are now 2 points off the top of the league, and Liverpool just managed to get the win. By the way, unbelievably unlucky, because Jordan Ayew never should have been sent off for me. So
No.
I didn't see it.
2 very harsh yellow cards, totally changed the dynamic of the game, and Palace had played really well. But anyway, we're 2 points off Liverpool, we're 1 point off Arsenal, so we're 2 points off the top of the league. Man City, admittedly, have closed the gap today. We've got a big gap from Spurs and Newcastle comparatively to what happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So top 4 is looking like it's a real possibility. We've got to keep it going for that. Title challenge, while you're up there, I want to believe I'm the most positive Villa fan, as you guys know, and anything's possible. When you see some of the things that have happened in sport over the years, from Denmark and Greece winning the Euros, Leicester winning the Premier League, I believe. But do we need to buy players in January? Let's hope we're going to get the wins or good results against, obviously, the next 3 or 4 games in the league. We've got Burnley, Man United, Brentford, Sheffield United. You've got to be confident of getting at least probably 9 points there. Hopefully, 8 to 10 points, say. If we're in that position, where do we need to strengthen, Martin? And do you think we need to? And I'll just throw a name in the mix for you to start off. How about a cheeky bid for Dominic Solanke as backup to Watkins?
Personally, in my opinion, I wouldn't go for Solanke just because I don't think he'd want to be backup. It's just because he's been playing so well. If he was going to get a next move, it's for him to play. It's not for him to be a backup. I personally think I'm in agreement with Sam. Again, another rare time me and Sam agreeing with each other.
You say that so often. We agree with each other.
Actually, no, I tend to be agreeing a lot more now. Actually,
yeah, we do.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I would go for a backup striker, and I would go a right back as well. Someone to come in, and whether it's better on Matty Cash or someone to push Matty Cash. I think they're the 2 positions I would realistically look at.
Yeah. What about you, Sam? Anyone you think right back seems to be the option and backup for Watkins? What do you reckon?
I think it's a difficult thing, because are we going to be able to bring in someone who displaces someone in this first team? Do we need that kind of backup? And January is always a horrible market, and now that Villa are kind of riding high, you're going to whack an extra 5-10 mil on there. I don't know. I'd like to maybe see some players move out in January if we're going to bring someone in. I'd like to see Callum Chambers maybe move on. I'm sure there's a place for Dendoncker somewhere. God rest his soul. He's a trier, isn't he? But
he's not dead, is he? He died.
Did I say rest? I meant bless.
Yeah, God rest his soul.
Jesus. Just hashtag RIP Dendoncker.
Big Daddy Donk. No, never do that.
No, just to reassure everyone, nothing's happened to Leander. He's still with us.
I'm on a massive time delay. I've got a bit of jet lag. I'm only back this morning, but it's I don't know. It's going to be a difficult transfer window to really improve in. I think I would definitely like to see a striker. I don't think we get the right back we need now. I've seen a lot of talk about Acuna coming in, but as far as I understand, he's a left back, and we do not need another left back. I don't understand that move. I think I've trusted Emery, but that for me seems like it's going to be a bit of cash, not in the fee, but maybe in the wages. And do we need a 32-year-old left back when we've got Moreno and Digne? I don't know. I don't see a lot happening in January personally, but time will tell.
Yeah, there's a few names in the comments. Frimpong, David. There's a few names.
Frimpong would be a ridiculous signing, by the way.
Wow,
because he's already got previous with Diaby as well, so he'll know how to play with him.
Richard Edwards has put a great comment, I think, which is so true. Emery won't just spend for the sake of it, and I think we've seen that obviously with Emery already. But I do think that if we are in a position like we are, you've got to trust the squad. Obviously, the majority of the squad have got us to this point, but I just think if you can strengthen, you might regret it forever if you don't. Are we going to get another season where, someone put in the comments that Salah's going to be going to the AFCON, of course, so he's going to be out for this. He's there. He's their key player, isn't he? He'll obviously lose a couple of others as well. You've got a situation where some of the big guns aren't where they've been in previous years. I'm not saying to win the league, but I'm saying to even cement top 4. Could we get someone in that could be, be that right back? Give us a bit more reassurance.
Can I supplement that, Kevin?
Yeah.
Just when you say, obviously, Emery won't spend for the sake of it, that's true. But also, if Emery wants something, I'm certain these owners are going to be there with the cash ready. Not even a checkbook. They've got cash waiting to be sent wherever it needs to be sent. Because I feel like it's a really important time, and I think it's so difficult. I would like a right back. I really would like a right back. I don't know if it's in the plans though, because then if you do that, then what happens to Concert, and then what happens when Mings comes back? And there's a lot of questions, because you've got to remember, we go and buy another attacking player that comes. Buendia looks like he's getting there. He looks like he's getting there after sort of 4 or 5 months out.
It's a different type of attacking player, isn't it? It's to get a striker that maybe depends how he feels about Duran. Maybe he's a bit more reliable. I get your point about Solanke, maybe not, but Villa project, going to get a lot of games. We're in Europe. You can see we've got one main striker. Rachel makes a good point about FFP, which is why I still think possibly Acuna. The talk was that he'd be a lot cheaper wages wise than Digne. And also the fee we might get from shipping Digne out and bringing Acuna in might make sense financially.
It's so good, Digne. Why don't disrupt?
I know.
For the sake of 20, 30 grand a week that they might be on a different.
I know.
You got to remember, Acuna he's a Champions League left back. He's playing Champions League with Sevilla. He's it just doesn't make. Don't rock the boat unless it's really going to make a significant impact. Then I know it's easy to say it's not my 30 grand a week, but I think we look like we've balanced the books well. I just it's a strange one. I don't know. I don't see how we massively improve in this window. But that being said, yeah, we do need, especially that cover for Watkins, like Rich has just said there. If Watkins gets a significant injury, 2-3 months, season's over for us.
It's game over, isn't it? And that is such a risk. How many times are we going to be? We like to think this is going to be, the regular situation for Aston Villa in years to come. But how many times are we going to be in this position? Clearly, we've got an important rest of December, see where we're at. How many times are we going to be this close to the top of the league? And do you have to speculate to accumulate?
Can I ask you boys a question?
Yeah, sure.
Say that we get to March. I'm taking us back about 12, 13 years now. Say we get to March, Villa are second in the table, few points off, but we're in it. We've got a game in the Conference League. We've got a game against the league leaders. Do you sack off the Conference League to try and win the Premier League? Or do you go for it in the cup? It's a Martin O'Neill dilemma, is what he did. What do you do?
I think if you're in the quarterfinals of the Conference League or semi-finals, maybe you say sack off. Maybe he just utilises the squad. But I just think when you're in that situation, you've just got to take the opportunities. I think that we've talked about the squad being really stepping up lately. We had 5 players that came off the bench of the day that all made a contribution. And
if you're in the quarterfinals of European competition, you play your best squad, right? You play your best first 11.
Yeah, I think the bigger question is going to be the FA Cup, but then Villa fans are craving. That's a massive opportunity for a trophy. If we don't win the league, well, there's a very strong possibility we won't. And we've got to get past, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, and then you've got Spurs, Newcastle. I'm sure they'll come back stronger. Obviously, you've got other teams kicking around there. Champions League is not a cert. There's no guarantee it's going to go to 5th. I think Man United and or Newcastle, one of them need to get through for us to get 5th. So for Villa, we're out the Carabao Cup. Conference League's a big chance, but this squad, this team could win the FA Cup. So I think you've just got to go. You know what? We're here. We're at the Carabao Cup. We've negotiated the early rounds of the Conference League fairly successfully. Let's be more than fairly successfully.
5 out of 6 there, we're doing all right.
Yeah, so not too bad at all. So I just think we've just got to go for all of it. I think if you don't go for all of it, think about that Martin O'Neill squad. The backups weren't very good. You had Marlon Harewood coming in and some young kids that never really played Premier League football again. Our backups are international footballers. So I just think you go.
I think for me, I would be happy to focus massively on the Conference League and finishing inside the top 4. I wouldn't mind if we did another Villa FA Cup 3rd round mishap and we lost that competition. If I'm being completely honest, I think 3 competitions to really try and compete on. We're not Man City. Like, let's be honest. At the end of the day, there are limits to our squad's capabilities, and I think it's too much. Focus on the Conference League and the Premier League for me.
Yeah.
Mine, what do you reckon?
I'd take the both of them. I'd take the both of them. I mean, if you've got an opportunity to potentially do a double,
FA Cup
go
as
for
well.
it, do them.
FA Cup as well.
The FA Cup would be a little bit more difficult because, it's the magic of the cup. Lower opposition teams tend to bring it up to the Premier League teams, and there'll always be an upset. Always. Last season, for example, we won't mention that. But I would still go for the FA Cup as well. But the FA Cup, anything can happen. So if we go out in the third round, or you go out, say, quarterfinals, whatever it might be, still go for it. Go for all of them. Why not? We've got to take the opportunity to go for every single one while you can. Because then it goes to show that you want to compete, not just this little, like some people would say, oh, well, we'll scrap this and we'll go for this. No, go for everything you can.
I think
Because then
sometimes
it's progression.
it's too little butter over too much bread. I think is the expression. But I get it,
Yeah.
and I'm not opposed either way. It's just like, I've been seeing it a lot. I've been seeing the question asked a lot. If you had if you could, which one would you rather? The question actually I saw was, if you could either finish in the top 4 or win the Conference League, which one would you want?
Yeah, you'd rather win the Conference League because, in my opinion, yes, you get Champions League for the top 4. But somebody win that.
Yeah.
Like, if you win the Conference League, you've got something to say. This is
Yeah.
what we won. The
Yeah,
celebrations are a lot better because you have a cup. The lads will put whatever drink they want in it and drink out of it. Like, you're not going to do that.
I'd be
if you're
interested to
top
see
4 place.
what other people watching think as well. But if you put it down in the comments if you can, whether you'd rather win the Conference League or finish in the Champions League places.
Well, I think this squad of players, and with this manager, considering how we're setting it up around him, the whole Real Union link with his granddad and dad playing for that club in Spain, with obviously all of his comrades around him, everyone that he knows, Emery, the structure has been set up around him. I'm confident with this squad of players. I think we'll keep our best players if we get Champions League as well, which I think is massive. I think we're going to win something. I think we're going to win something in the next few years. So I think if you're in a situation where it's top 4 or Conference League, I think that's a real tricky question, because Champions League takes you into a new stratosphere. And I'd love a trophy, I absolutely would. But I think with this squad of players, I think we could get an FA Cup, we could get a Europa League, we could get something in the next few years. The comments are coming in. We've got Champions League there from Stephen Van Leer. Steve's also saying Champions League. I kind of try and keep up with it. Rachel's saying top 4. Richard's saying top 4. Aston, the Villa fans, saying conference. So seems a little bit of a split. CC saying conference as well. Champions League for Steve. I think I put that one. Champions League for Sarko. Conference League, you get the Europa League, the Financial Champions League, but we're desperate for a trophy. So here's a great question. Are the fans of West Ham or Newcastle happier? Well, West Ham fans.
West Ham would be.
No,
100%.
West Ham fans are absolutely hating Moyes at the moment. It's not that long ago since they won the Conference League. So
I think my answer and I'm not super passionate about either way. I think I'd take top 4.
Yeah,
I think I agree with you, Kev. I think it just takes you to a different. The signings you can make, I think the goal for the club is to get back into the Champions League. Like the Conference League would be amazing. It would be one of the greatest things I've seen Villa, or one of the only things I've seen Villa win in my lifetime. But I think in terms of the progression of the club, if we want to not do what Leicester did and be like a one-season wonder where we've done really well, enjoy our little day in the sun in the Champions League, and then get relegated a few years later. But if we want to actually progress and staple ourselves at the upper echelons of European and English football, I think making the Champions League. Look what happened to Spurs about 10, 12 years ago. They finally made the Champions League, and look at how they've come on leaps and bounds in terms of being in that competition consistently. The players that they signed, the Luka Modric's, the Gareth Bales, the consistency. Look at the stadium that they've built off the back of being in the Champions League. It's just so important. If you can be a Champions League team regularly, I feel like it's more important than that one trophy. And like Kev says, even if we don't win the Conference League this year, I feel like there's a trophy coming. But I understand both sides of the argument.
Well, listen, it's been an absolutely epic pod, everybody. Thanks so much for all of the comments. We've still got over 100 watching, 10:30 on a Sunday night. Again, quick reminder, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Please give the video a like. It helps more people find us, helps us grow the channel. We're pushing for 3K before Christmas. As the Villa are on the upward trajectory, the Villa podcast on the upward trajectory. So it's great to see. I'm just going to finish off with a little bit of just a few words, and then I'll pop up a comment from one of our new members to kind of finish the show off with. But, I'm just imploring everyone, enjoy these moments, because we don't know where we're going to be down the line. We don't know how long we've got Unai for, hopefully for decades. For Aston Villa to be sitting where they are, comfortably in the top 3 of the Premier League, ahead of Manchester City in almost the middle of December, to think that a year ago we thought we were in danger of relegation. We've beaten all and sundry lately. And as Alex Moreno, new member, says, it's all a dream over the last 13 years. I never thought I'd be asking myself, should we focus on winning the league or winning a trophy in Europe?
True.
Pinch me now. So I just think that's a perfect way to end the show. Thanks for all the support. Martin, great to have you here. Sam, great to hear about Dean Smith. Anyone wants to know more about that, I'm sure Sam will put some stuff on Twitter if you got any questions about it. There's a few.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter as well, guys, because I put up a post earlier and I got -3 likes. I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
So get following.
Give us all a follow. Give Kev, Martin, Sam, and the rest of the guys' channel a follow on Twitter as well. But let's just enjoy these moments, everybody. Remember, we've got a long way to go this season, but we're having a fantastic time, and each game now matters. Each game we go into makes us believe a bit more. I've never been so annoyed at Liverpool losing a game. In recent years, I felt unfair for the opposition. I was thinking that's our chances of going second in the league. So, it really matters right now at the moment. So, look, it's a fantastic time to be a Villa fan. Pinch yourselves, but then realise that we're actually not dreaming, we're alive. And super Unai Emery. Thanks for the support tonight, everybody. And remember, we all follow the Villa.
Villa.